Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the newest episode of the Theater Enthusiast podcast. I am so excited and delighted. And thank you again for coming on to welcome our next guest. She's currently starring in Mary Jane on Broadway. I saw it and I loved it so much. I reached out to see if I can get somebody on the show on my podcast. And here we are. She's a two-time Obie winning award performer. She's done Broadway, she's done film, she's done TV, you name it, she's done it. I'm so excited. Please welcome Brenda Wehle. Woo, yeah, woo,
Oh,
woo. You can be your own hype person too. Woo, woo, woo.
thank you.
Oh,
Thank you.
please, again, thank you so much for coming on. Like I said before, I so much enjoyed Mary Jane that I was really excited about the prospect of getting somebody who was who's in the cast to come on to my podcast. So we're going to talk about you, but we'll also, get into more details about the show as well.
Oh, yes, please do. Yeah.
Yeah, because I even have a quote from you that said, audiences coming to see this play will see themselves on stage," which I
Yeah.
think is, as I mentioned to you before we started, I saw talkback after, and there were certain audience members telling the performer on stage how they were affected by it because of personal things. And, you never really know who's in an audience. You never know how a show is going to affect them, even if they're walking into a show and not really knowing what they're about to see.
Right. Right. Absolutely. No.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
guess you never really do know. I mean, you can
Yeah.
know what the subject is, or you can maybe you've seen another production, but when you go to a new production of a new play,
Yeah.
it's, I find that very exciting.
Yeah, I will say, I've been affected by things too, just, even knowing what the subject matter is, but then witnessing it and having personal, whether it be based on like beliefs, religion, what have you, having like a really personal
Mhm.
experience seeing a show. So you know, that's the power of theater, I guess you could say, and storytelling.
Absolutely. I think when I was at the Guthrie, which I was for a decade, our artistic director at the time, Garland Wright, God rest his soul, brilliant, brilliant director,
Mhm.
um, he described the theatrical experience as the shared act of imagining,
Hmm.
which includes everyone's imagining. And
Yeah,
I look at it, I think, well, it's the imagination, it's the set, it's also the direction, it's also the actors, and every single individual in the audience is imagining. And I think it's palpable. It's
yeah,
palpable.
yeah. So let's start from the beginning. So we'll get back to the theater experience, but where are you from?
Well, I was what they used to call an army brat. I don't know what they're called now. I was one of six, and I was born number three in Washington, D.C. But we moved every year or two,
Hmm.
and for a, to from one location that had nothing to do with the next location. One of my favorites to say is that we lived in Oklahoma at Fort Sill, Oklahoma, and then we were assigned to Paris, France, on the Quai d'Orsay. We lived there. So we went from military quarters in Oklahoma to Paris, France, and that was the longest place we stayed, 3 years.
Oh, wow.
But we've lived in Germany, we've lived in you name it. I mean, it's one of those things only military people really get it. Maybe
Yeah.
not so much anymore. I guess corporate is doing pretty much the same thing. People moving around all the time, but
Yeah.
we were a tribe,
Yeah.
needless to say.
So I'm curious to know, since you were what you call an army brat and you moved throughout your childhood and what have you, how did you get interested in performing?
Yeah, that's a very funny question. I wasn't interested in performing. Um, I have subsequently, over the years, begun to think about the fact that we were always told we represented the United States. And so there were behavioral things that we learned when we were very, very young.
Mhm.
And I think that had something to do with performance. But I personally was very shy about that. I never really wanted to do it. It
Mhm.
wasn't my major.
Yeah.
I sort of fell into it because when I was in college, I thought, well, you have to join an extracurricular thing. This was an all-female college, and I was cutting leaves to put on trees. And the head of the drama department suggested, we just had fun, that maybe I'd want to do a play. And that was really the beginning of my whole life, really. I mean, subsequently, my whole life has been this acting in different productions. I've been extremely lucky. And I mean, really unable to describe how lucky.
Yeah.
It's not like I earned anything. It's not like but I do know that I've had a love for it. And more than a love, really, it's been a passion of mine. And I've been so fortunate to exhibit that. No, what's the word? Not exhibit it, but actually live it. A lot of people get work and they don't, it's not what they're passionate about. So I feel very fortunate that way.
Yeah. So do you remember the play that you did in college that this professor said maybe you should do a play?
Yes, the first one was Tartuffe, French play. I don't know if anybody knows it.
I
And
think
that
I did scenes from that in college. I think
yeah,
that was one of the plays we had to study. Yeah.
sure. Yeah, it's a Moliere play.
Yeah.
And he played Tartuffe, and I played Elmire, which was the wife of the guy he was trying to seduce, this fake chaplain-y kind of guy. So that was my first, and then I did a bunch of different things. I applied to Yale. I was told to apply to Yale, so I wrote a letter. And the same man and head of the drama department said he had one comment about me that I didn't like, and I didn't send the letter. But it was that I have an overdeveloped sense of humor. That's what he said in his letter. So I thought, well, that's not a self-describe on my part, but in those days you had somebody write these things for you. So
Yeah.
Anyway, so I didn't, and I ended up in graduate school because my brother took me there, and he took me through. He just kept saying, I needed to be an actor, and he wanted me to be an actor, and I ended up being an actor.
Yeah. Where did you go to graduate school?
I went to Catholic University in Washington, D.C., and they had, it was so great. They had a group called the National Players that was comprised of just the actors from the program, from the graduate school. We would go 9 months driving around the United States, setting up lights, steaming costumes, performing in the same production sometimes. You come off on one side of the stage, you come back on the other, turn on the sound, and then, do the next scene. It was such a wonderful experience. And you were in the midst of, you name it. We went to almost every state. It seems now, I think most states have their own touring companies from their own universities or colleges, but at that time they didn't. So we did a lot of that for 2 years, at the end of which we got to perform the plays professionally in their summer theater. And I did that. And then, well, when you're 150 years old and have done this forever, it's hard to remember each event. But subsequent to that, I stopped. I didn't continue. And I got married and had two children, and it just kept coming at me. I can't describe it in any other way. It was like, ding dong, time to consider this and that. So eventually, obviously, I made this what I do, and I can't say enough times how fortunate I am to do it.
Yeah.
Most musicians feel the same way. Artists of many, you probably do with your podcast. You probably love doing this.
I do, and I feel very lucky that you included, and there's a lot of people I've had on my podcast who I kind of am like, I can't believe they said yes to doing my podcast. So yeah, I feel very fortunate that
Well, you're spreading the good word about theater.
I try.
Important. That is
Uh,
very important. It's
yeah.
very important to me.
Mm,
And I know it's very important to us
yeah.
as a civilization.
Yeah. Well, I think I always say the main goal of the podcast also is to have people who listen who are interested in getting into this industry to hear different people's stories of how they got in, if they have any advice, what have you. Because when I went to college, I was so green. I had no idea what I was doing. I knew nothing. I had a terrible, terrible high school theater teacher. I call her the spawn of Satan. And like, I also found out like maybe a year and a half ago that she doesn't teach high school drama anymore. And I know this is terrible, but it fills me with so much joy knowing that. But um yeah, so I think it's important, especially, with speaking to you, and you were mentioning how, when you were starting out doing the tours, how you had to do the lights and the sound. And when I was in college, the program was like, no, you need to learn like everything. You had to take like costume classes, lighting, design, and sound, just so you kind of know the full scope of everything.
Mhm, mhm,
And
mhm.
I think that's important, especially if you want to be a theater performer or if you love theater. There's so much that goes into just putting on a production. Like, for example, Mary Jane, you come out, you're not to give anything away, but you open the show and you have like a plunger in hand. Like, if you didn't have a prop person backstage, getting that plunger ready for you, you wouldn't be able to open the show, plunge in a sink.
That's right. It's a complete grouping
Yeah.
that does it. It's a collective.
Yeah.
It's a collective. Yeah.
Yeah. So I just want to shout out really quickly because it is my name, Doppelganger, but you got your equity card along with Allison Janney.
Oh, there's a story. That's
Oh,
fun.
yeah.
This was sort of, I mean, this is actually when I went into, both of my girls were born. And I went to a theater. A friend of mine was running it, and in Gambier, Ohio, and it was called the Kenyon Festival Theater. And I think it was year one of that. And what he wanted to do was create a troupe. So we were in rep, we were doing different shows in rep. And Allison was in the same, one of the same plays that I was. We were both fairies in Midsummer Night's Dream, and I was understudying Carol Kane, who was then playing Titania.
Mhm.
And all these years later, I rarely see Allison at all. She's been, oh my gosh, she's had a wonderful career.
Mhm.
Um, but that was a very eye-opening summer for me because also there was a way of living as an actor, as a young actor. I had no idea about. But you go to a summer camp, you go to a summer theater. A lot goes on. A
Mhm.
lot goes on. That I learned a lot. Let's put it that way, and I had fun doing the plays.
Yeah.
So that's, yeah. And I got, at the end of it, we both got our equity card. That was the deal. So
Yeah.
yeah.
It's great. I just, again, because I'm Allison Tanny, she's Allison Janney.
I
So,
thought maybe you were Allison Janney the first time somebody mentioned it. I'm
oh,
like,
really? It's,
yeah,
yeah, there's a two-letter dish. She's two L's, I'm one. Her name starts with a J, mine is a T. I don't think I've ever told this story on the podcast, but she did 9 to 5 on Broadway. And
yeah.
I went to the stage door and I was like, I have to tell Allison Janney my name. So, you know how the stage door is, there's like lines of people. So I was behind some people and I said, I've always wanted to meet you and tell you this. And she was a little apprehensive. She's like, okay. And I said, you're Allison Janney. I'm Allison Tanny. She goes, Allison Tanny? I said, yeah, with one L and a T. She goes, Allison Tanny. I was like, yeah. She goes, that's so funny. I was like, I know, right? Like, it's nice to meet you, Allison Tanny. I was like, it's nice to meet you, Allison Janney. And then I just like melted into a puddle of like, oh my God, Allison Janney's with me now. I mean, who knows if she even remembers that, but that was like a
I'll
really
bet
good moment.
she does.
Yeah, maybe one day I can get her on the podcast and be like the J-
Yeah,
the Tanny Janny experience.
that would
Yeah,
be fun.
yeah. New goal. We're gonna manifest that out there. So you've done a lot of Broadway, and I didn't even realize this, but I actually saw you in The Big Knife.
Oh, yeah.
I don't remember. I remember Rachel Brosnahan being in the show, and that was before like she was big. And I'm a huge fan of Marin Ireland and Bobby Cannavale. But I'm also really curious because you did, I never pronounced his name correctly. Is it Ivo or Ivo von Hove?
Evo.
Evo, okay. Because I said Evo once and somebody said Ivo. Um, I'm curious what, because I saw in London A Little Life when I was there this past summer, and I was lucky enough to interview somebody in that show. So I'm curious to know what your experience was like working with him on The Crucible.
I loved working with him on the Crucible. I had never done anything quite like that.
Yeah,
It was an extraordinary experience. Um, he and the lighting designer really created a world that made sense to me.
hmm
It made sense. Even, it was, I've seen a number of productions of the play, but for me, it was a great thing to be a part of. And also to work with Kieran Hines and Ben Whishaw and, all these fabulous actors in it. I think it was Tavi Gevinson's first
hmm
uh, theatrical job. And I mean, I could, it's a whole list of characters.
Oh, please, if you forgot Saoirse Ronan.
Oh, Saoirse, of course, of course. You think of it. I would think of it
Yeah.
first off. Um, yeah, I don't think she. I've seen these people subsequently. It's kind of fun in the theater too because when you're in something, they'll come. And I just saw Rachel the other night. She came to see Mary Jane, and it's always so nice to reconnect. And I was actually roommates, dressing roommates with Zoe Kazan, Tavi Gevinson, and Rachel Brosnahan. And it was like the first, and it was just, it's been this sort of wonderful experience of having somebody very young and new and in the field. And we have our own little podcast that we don't, we didn't record in any way, but it was a wonderful experience working on that piece. What did you think of it?
I actually didn't get to see it.
Uh,
Yeah,
well, people
because
loved it or hated it.
yeah, I feel like that's with like some of his productions, but I did see his production of, oh my God, View from the Bridge.
Yeah,
And I just like I lost my mind. I mean, it's been so many years now, so I don't know if you saw that
I did
production.
see that. Yeah, I did see that.
Yeah, so the fact that it and I sat on the stage and it rained
Oh,
blood
wow.
at the end, and I was just like, this is the coolest thing I've ever.
Yeah.
Yeah,
He's fearless that way.
yeah,
He's fearless that way. And as a director, he did what he saw, what he wanted to see. He created what meant to him some large picture. I
yeah,
felt that it adapted currently in ways that,
yeah.
other productions, they seemed almost historic as opposed to this was, to me, really open the play up to us right now.
Yeah. I know it's very weird. On my flight to London, I knew it was going to be a really good trip because the person I was sitting next to ended up, he was flying to London to direct an episode of House of Dragons. So
Oh,
like, it's like the coolest thing ever. But
manifested.
yeah, and he was like, "Oh yeah, you should go see The Crucible." And I was like, I've never seen a production of The Crucible, but I think it just lives in the zeitgeist of like theater and our lives, like reading it in high school, that I was like, I don't know if I want to see a production of it because I really love the play so much that I don't know if I want something. And there's so many different types of interpretations of it. So
So why were you fearful about seeing a different interpretation?
I don't know. I mean, it's one of those things where you just kind of, sorry, this is like, I'm so uncomfortable where I'm sitting.
Oh,
I guess it just, I probably could have just seen a production of it, but I think it's one of those things that if you just really enjoy a piece so much, you don't want something else to ruin that. And I did kind of feel that way like this past City Center with Light in the Piazza because that's one of my favorite musicals, but I ended up seeing it and loving it because you just forget, like, I just love the show in general. So it's just like a nice thing to see it, just to have it in front of you perform.
yeah, I think that there was a lot. the audience's reception of it was just as I said before, was they either loved it or did not like it at all. And I came away with the feeling, because a cousin of mine didn't like it at all, was very free about saying what that was like and why. And I think you're right when you describe that it's precious to you in a way, in one's own experience, in one's collection of experiences. You don't want it tainted in any way. But I think what's curious to me also is there are people who've seen 4 productions of it over a lifetime, and they saw this and they hated it, or they just flipped out.
But you know, there's also a factor of money.
Well, yeah, no, sure.
And especially if you have a production. I was even talking to my friend, because you have George Clooney coming to Broadway, you have Robert Downey Jr. coming to Broadway, you have the new Romeo and Juliet coming to Broadway, you have Othello coming to Broadway with Jake Gyllenhaal and Denzel Washington. And so we were just talking about like how insane those pricings of theater. I mean, that's a whole other conversation we can have about theater pricing. And how like insane theater pricing might be. Like I remember when Music Man first went on sale, I made sure to find like the cheapest seat I can find, like as soon as they went on sale, and not wait, because that's what happened with Bette Midler and Hello Dolly. And I ended up seeing it with Bernadette Peters, so I'm not complaining. But
Right.
you know, it's just even now, like rush ticket pricing has gone up, TDF ticket pricing has gone up. So theater pricing isn't what it used to be, and especially if there's a quote unquote name in the show. You know, I was lucky to see Mary Jane. I rushed the show, so I was able to get moderately priced ticket.
Well, you're absolutely right about that. We talk about it. I can guarantee you, it's not going to the actors. It's not about the, what happened during COVID was real.
Yeah,
Broadway shut down,
yeah,
and it's also one of the biggest. It's the biggest draw to New York City
yeah.
in the world. So
Mhm.
people come from all over the world. They come. There are generations of people. I mean, the Lion King's been there for I don't know how many decades, but
20
yes,
years. Yeah.
ever.
I mean,
So
Wicked's been 20. I know, but I can't, Lion King's over 20, I think.
I think it is too. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't. I exaggerate to clarify. But anyway, I think it's more now. I don't know that this is true, but it's trying to get it back.
Yeah.
It's extremely expensive to produce now.
Yeah.
I mean, I come from an era where there was one producer, Liz McCann was the producer. Now you have 40, 50 producers sometimes.
Yeah.
And everyone wants a piece of it.
Mhm.
And I think that bringing in names oftentimes is about, that's how to draw people back.
Yeah.
Because people know their work from, it may not be theater, but they know their work from film or television.
Mhm.
And oftentimes actors started out in theater and then did a lot of film and television, and they're anxious to come back to the theater and do it. So I don't know how this is going to turn around.
Yeah.
I just don't know, because it feels as if it's prohibitive. It's embarrassing. Somebody says, you know, they want to come and see the play, and then they find out how much the ticket is.
Yeah.
And as actors, you just can't pay for everybody who wants to come and see the play. Certainly not on the salary you're on.
Yeah.
And it feels as if it's about reviving. The effort is to revive the draw back
Yeah.
to seeing theater. Will it work ultimately right now?
Yeah.
I mean, it's funny, you know, if you've been there on Broadway, in the Broadway area, it's a madhouse, and there, you know, more M&Ms are sold there than plays, and you know, that kind of thing. So it draws people for a lot of different reasons
Yeah.
to see a lot of different shows.
Yeah. I always say, people have asked me about like Times Square and stuff, and I say no real New Yorker goes to Times Square unless they work there or they're seeing a show. I will go to Times Square if I'm like it need to cut through, because sometimes it's actually faster to like cut through Times Square to get somewhere if you're going south, based on from where I live. But that's here nor there. I'm curious because you mentioned like M&Ms, and then I just thought about how people eat M&Ms during shows. Do you have any like I have such a thing about theater etiquette, and just like what is there, because you know you're performing on stage. Have you experienced anything? Like how do you think an audience should react, behave, what have you? I can't remember what show I was at. Maybe it was at Mary Jane. Somebody said,
It is,
grab
yeah.
your candies.
Many of the theaters now sell food
Yeah,
and I
yeah.
did not grow up with that.
Mhm.
I think we've gotten ourselves into a situation where it's not just because it makes money, it doesn't make that much money.
Mhm.
But people who don't go to the theater, who haven't been to the theater, are encouraged to come for a good time.
Yeah.
The theater to me is sacred.
Mhm.
It's a sacred experience. It can be happy, it can be sad, it can be whatever, but it's one of those things that, for me, you have to have an experience of to respect it. It definitely intrudes. If somebody's opening up, we had somebody in the front row the other night, and they opened their purse and took out a can of something and opened it, and the lights from the stage were bouncing back onto the stage. It's very difficult for an audience to stay together. When that happens, you're distracted. But
My, sorry, go ahead.
no, I think, but we've that and the years of COVID.
Yeah. I will say this happened to me recently, and this is just a PSA for anyone listening. I was lucky enough to get a ticket to see Cabaret. Saw
Mhm.
it at the beginning of the month, saw it, I think like 2 weeks ago, I saw it. Second act starts, my friends and I and our husband are sitting there. Next thing you know, you hear like I have a water bottle for those listen, crinkling, but it's like, okay, they're going to be done. But then they kept going. And then there was like a little chatter, and then there was more. And then at one point, it was so bad, I literally turned around to see what it was. The woman behind me was eating cookies out of like a Tate's bag, and I gave her a look, and the look of like, oh shit, I was caught on her face.
Mhm.
And then like after I turned around and like gave her a death stare of like, what is this? Like, what's this noise? She stopped.
I think people are afraid to do that. It can be more disruptive. I don't know why. When I'm in an audience, I just do you know the program for Mary Jane has a list? Did you by any chance look at the list of do's and don'ts?
I never do because I know what to do and what not to do in a theater.
It's never been in a program I've ever seen before. And apparently now it's in the program.
Yeah.
You can look at it, read it. It tells you don't do this, don't do that, don't do this. People are now talking back to actors on the stage. People are taking photos. People don't turn off their cell phones. People are, we've moved into a different era.
Yeah. I find it interesting too. So they did the same thing when I saw Little Life because there's male nudity in the show and it's very they called the book trauma porn. So there's a lot of I think it was mostly because of the male nudity, but they put a sticker over your camera and they did the same thing with Cabaret. They don't want you taking photos of like the pre-show and the set. But when I saw Take Me Out, they put our phone in yonder bags. Do you know what those are?
No, but I like the idea of bagging the phones.
Yeah, so I saw it twice. I saw the original production and then the 2.0 production. And
Mhm.
I was talking to a woman in the first production, and she was saying how she thinks Yonder Bags dumbs down the audience, that they don't trust us enough to turn off our phones. And
Well, with good reason.
and she's seen a lot of theater. And I've been seeing theater, not to age myself, for over 30 years.
Yeah.
Um, And I was like, no, I don't trust an audience because I mean the phone can still go off if it's in the bag, but like you're not. And it was also a really interesting thing too, because during intermission, everybody's on their phone. But if they're in a yonder bag, like what are
You
you
don't
gonna do during intermission? Like you have to talk to somebody, you have to look at your playbill. So it's definitely a different experience with that.
Well, I think that our audience, anyway, I can hear them. We can hear them backstage ready to come on. You can hear the ushers basically yelling, turn them off, turn them completely off, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah.
It's been an extraordinary, for me anyway,
Mhm.
but far fewer,
Mhm.
far fewer have gone off in this
Yeah.
stretch. And one of the reasons is there's no intermission.
Yeah. Yeah. That just brought me, I saw An Enemy of the People, and there's a part of the show where the lights in the theater are on because they're addressing the audience. It's like you're in a town hall. and the two women next to me were looking at bus schedules on their phone. And I was like the show is happening and you're still on your phone even though the lights are up. You don't think that's distracting her? Like I have such a thing about that. I get so distracted because I can easily see the light out of the corner of my eye.
Oh, I think it's a sensitivity one wants to keep,
Yeah,
and we are ignoring that.
yeah,
We are in technological, swift waters.
yeah.
And I think that sometimes we're being led by the whatevers into a world that is going to shrink
Mhm.
connection,
Yeah,
real connection.
yeah. I will say there was another play I saw. I love how it's like all recent that happened. Like maybe 3 weeks ago, I saw Patriots, and
Good.
I really enjoyed it so much. And I was in the I was in the last row of the mezzanine, and it wasn't that full, unfortunately. But I know somebody in the show, and I was like, it was like no, I was talking to one of the ushers because I know some of the front of house people, and I was like, it's like the Wild West up there. Like some woman in front of me, like I guess I made some sort of noise, like nothing. She like looked at me, and then there was somebody during the show who put their phone flashlight on to look at the playbill.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
I was like, this is wild up here. But
They're quieter in a movie theater.
well, I don't know. I saw a movie a few weeks ago and someone was talking throughout it. But and then I saw a movie last week and somebody was on their phone as well. So maybe I just have bad luck.
No, I think it's everywhere, but I actually have not gone into a movie theater in a while, unless it's in the tiny little town where I live, upstate. Well, it's not upstate, but it's in Connecticut. But because
It's upstate of a part of New York. So you can say
that's
it's
it. That's it. And I keep
yeah.
doing it. Yeah, I keep
Yeah.
doing it.
Connecticut's nice. It's on the other, I'm on Long Island right now. It's on the other side of the sound.
It's right here. It's right
Yeah.
there.
We're
Yeah.
practically neighbors. Isn't there a boat from Long Island to Connecticut and back? Whatever.
You can do it. You can do it
Yeah.
from here. Yeah, you can do it from here. No, but I agree with you. I don't know what's going to happen with this. I love the fact that audiences are becoming more, as you did, involved in quieting it. I think that that's the only way, really. I mean, nobody's come to fisticuffs that I've seen, but in some cases, it's you've paid that money to have the experience that they are disallowing you to have by
Yeah.
their, I mean, I think we should do it. We just have to take it on and do it if we're in the house.
Yeah. I know. There's so many different types of audience members. People like you and I guess, who are like theater people and people who like go to shows frequently or who like it's like a once in a while experience for them. So I don't know. Hopefully the theater etiquette will get better. I just have such a thing about it. Just turn off your phone. Don't be on your phone during a show. People can see it. People in the audience can like from the stage can see it. It's just wild to me.
What would you do? What
What
would you what would you do about it as
I
a theater goer who does not care for all that extra stuff going on? What would you do?
I
I mean,
think
it's
like I widely whisper like turn off your phone.
hmm,
I've had people I saw Funny Girl and there was this girl next to me and I said to her, I'm like, can you turn off your phone, please?
hmm,
Like if it's right next to me, it's
yeah.
like and I'm never rude about it. I say like very quietly, like or very kindly, like, can you please turn off your phone?
Well, I think that's great, and I think that does make a difference because if one individual hears that from you,
Yeah.
they'll think the next time. They'll
Yeah.
think before. I
Yeah.
believe. I
Yeah.
have hope.
Yeah. I mean, I used to when I was in college, I ushered at the theater at my school and I always said I was like a hawk because I could see a cell phone from like all the way on the other side of the theater. So I would just like I would spot it and then I would run over and be like, turn off your phone. So I think I'm
Mhm.
just sensitive to like seeing phones everywhere.
Oh, good, good. I
Drives me-
mean, yes, it's good. Maybe
Yeah.
not.
Yeah. I mean, there's only so much I can do as an audience member, but hopefully it does get better. Who knows? Maybe one day like everybody will have a yonder bag.
Here you go. Then maybe
Yeah.
tell them.
Yeah. Just like don't be on your phone during the show. I'm curious to know because you've done so many plays and you've had a very wonderful career. Again, you're a two-time Obie winner. And you even got to work with Tony Kushner, which is incredible. One of your, it's the shortened version of the title is The Intelligent Homosexuals Guide, and it goes on longer. Uh,
Mhm.
I'm curious about because I didn't see that one again, money. Uh, I'm curious to know what that experience was like because I remember that show being kind of a big deal because it was like a big Tony Kushner play at the time.
It was, and it still is. I guess Tony is one of these playwrights who seems never finished. I mean, he is always thinking, always working of it. And I know there have been other iterations of that
Mhm.
production that we did.
Yeah.
Um, there was one in London that I think he actually directed, working with Tony and Michael Greif, and they're a wonderful team. It was it was challenging. I will say that because a play in process is one thing, a play in rehearsal as written is another. So everybody was getting new material. It was shifting all the time. You know, you get a whole new paragraph, or you get Tony's brain is just so enormous and busy that he wanted to say what he wanted to say. It's as clearly and cleanly as possible. And but it was very exciting because to work with somebody that bright and committed, and he is that. Um, and it was a wonderful cast. It was a great group of actors. Um, I would say that that's the way it was challenging for me, anyways. That because the character that I was playing, Cleo, there was a lot that had not been yet written, and we try something out. And as an actor, and I'm sure you remember this part, as an actor, you commit. I mean, you commit to memorizing it and filling it and doing everything else, and then suddenly it's gone and there's a whole other thing. It was challenging, but it was good. It was good. It's like being in a gym.
Oh,
You know?
it's like you're working out your brain.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So I want to touch now on Mary Jane because you first did the production at New York Theater Workshop back in 2017. So what was the audition process like for the first time you did the show?
The first time I did the show, I was asked to do those parts.
Okay.
Um, I can't say enough about this play. This play is extraordinary.
Mhm.
I have said to Amy, the playwright, a number of times, it's a perfect play. It's a perfect play.
Mhm.
And the characters are, there isn't an uncompassionate moment, and there is tons of humor, and there is so much caring. And it was the first time for me in my years that it was an all female room. The director, the set designer, the costume designer, the actors, everybody in the room had a voice that I recognized was spoken in this particular sort of nest or womb, if you will, in developing this play. It had already been clearly written. Amy had worked on. There were a couple of things, but by and large, here's the most interesting to me. After it was 7 years from the time that production to this one,
Yeah.
only two things have changed. And one of them is that Facebook became Instagram, and the other one is working from home or remote.
Mm.
That's it. Nothing else, not another word has changed in 7 years. And it's fuller now in some ways, and I believe richer now, more engaging now. It is so moving to audiences. I've never heard silence like there is in this play sometimes because people are having such personal experiences as you described at the beginning of this. And I think if had we not had that gap of 7 years with what happened inside of those 7 years for everyone, there's an awareness, there's a return to a kind of compassion and kindness and consideration.
Yeah.
There's a spiritual nurturing, I think. What is it? Nurture. No, what am I saying? Nurturing.
Yeah.
Nurturing. It's a nurturing play.
Yeah.
People are just raw, they're just raw with it. And it has such spectacular singular effect. But the unity of the group watching it, I cannot express night after night. It's just gobsmacking how, people are lost in it collectively as individuals.
Yeah.
And to me, that's the shared act of imagining that was spoken of all those years ago, actually in place.
Yeah. So 7 years later, were you asked to come back to do the show when it was announced it was coming to Broadway, or was that another audition? What was that process like?
No, I was asked again to return, and here's a story that I think you might find interesting. When we finished the first run of the play, it was going to go to Broadway. They were looking for producers. There was this all going down. Then COVID shut everything down.
Yeah.
I had done one other play. I did at the Public, the Michaels. My head was like this for Mary Jane back then.
Mm.
And I did another play, but so I had very short hair. And then COVID hit. And then in the course of it, I thought this play has to come back. Mary Jane has to be seen by more people. It has a bigger life. So in a funny kind of way, I said, well, I'll be doing this again. I'll be shaving my head again. So let's just let it grow.
Yeah.
Until. And I did. And it was halfway down my back. And it was this odd kind of act of faith. I don't know what it was. It was sort of like, why? It's got to come backness about it. It will come back and I will do it again. So that's how strongly I really felt about its continuing, how necessary it was. And I have to say, speaking to people after they've seen it or being with them while they're seeing it, it's a kind of heaven that is such a gift to people.
Yeah.
That play is a real gift.
Yeah. I think it's also strongly based on like the community that you put yourself in, that assist you, like that help you out, and that understand you and are willing to help. Because that's because I have a wonderful family, but I also have a wonderful supportive group of friends who are also like a family. So it's kind of similar to that, where you make your own family, I guess you could say.
Yes, yes, absolutely. Absolutely. And I think that the audience feels like a family when they come out.
Yeah.
You
So
know,
no, please continue.
they just have shared this, they've shared an experience,
Mhm.
and they know they've shared it together. It's hard to describe. It's felt more than I can speak to it really.
Yeah. So I'm curious to know for you, and especially the characters that you play, because you're in the very first scene and you're in the very last scene, and you play two very different types of characters. And especially the last scene, I think, is such like a big poignant moment
Mm-hmm.
for the character you play, or I mean, for Mary Jane, because of the character you play as well and what's happening, not to give anything away,
Mm-hmm.
in that moment. So what is it like playing those two types, as an actor, as a performer? How is that like for you?
It's totally freeing. It's totally freeing with an undercurrent of I'm still learning things about this play and what she's written.
Yeah.
Um, it's parenthetical. I mean, in a way, it holds these two scenes, hold the play together.
Yeah.
And Mary Jane's journey in the play is at a place by the end. Well, I shouldn't say anything about that, I guess. But for me, playing those two characters, again, it's pure gift. I mean, just pure gift. They are beautifully written and they're wonderful human beings. And there isn't anybody in that play who isn't an incredible human being and very distinct. And it,
Yeah.
you know, part of it is like you don't even have to look for the goodness in them. And there's so much fun. There's so much funny stuff that happens just casually, you know.
Yeah.
I could say that honestly. And they're not, for me, they're basically the same that I did, but there were 7 years in between. So my life and the characters' lives, of
Mhm.
course, have this inside of them in some way, in a different form.
Yeah.
It's a gift, a real gift, and a gift to be with these other actors. It's just all of us feel the same way. We're very tight as a group.
So during the Q&A that I sat in on, they talked about how, because you don't see Mary Jane's child, but so they, you don't really touch upon like the disability that they have and all that, but there were specialists that you spoke to during rehearsal. Can you talk a little bit more about that?
Well, we were privileged to have, as actors, we were privileged to have, well, number one, the playwright,
Yeah.
and also her at one point, her daughter came and her husband came, and they told stories about, uh, their lives. And there was a woman who came who had been there with them for a long, long time as a caretaker, just terrific human beings. And they were all connected. And then we had, there was a musical therapist,
Mhm.
you know, who came and talked about what that was and how it works in a hospital. I never knew it. Did you ever know that before, that you could
I
get?
feel like I heard of something like that, but it wasn't what I thought it was, having seen the show.
Yeah, but it is therapy. It really does work. That was surprising. I mean, it's not surprising to me, but I never would have thought of it in a hospital setting.
Yeah.
And that character playing is giving something, and everyone is giving, trying to give what they have. Trying to be where they are and give what they have within the confines of how their jobs are described. They're still who they are. They still act from the heart. You
Mhm.
know, no matter how challenging it is. And then the other one was, there was a rabbi came from Brooklyn, and she spoke because of the one character who is Jewish, Hasid, I believe.
Mhm.
And so we got information that came from people actually living in conditions and situations like this.
Mhm.
And there was also a Buddhist who was a hospice chaplain who came and spoke and answered questions. We could ask any question we wanted. It was like, I kept adding more to the salad. It was just fantastic. A beautiful idea.
Yeah.
Beautiful idea too. Very generous of them all. So it enriched, definitely. It enriched it.
I like how you said adding to the salad. I feel like I've never heard that before, so I might steal that.
Do, please.
Adding to the
You'll
salad.
you'll add your own. You'll add your own.
Oh, please. I'm going through it. My friend, she does like tarot cards and everything, and now she's studying how to read lips. So I texted her a photo of my lips with lipstick. So she's like, "Yeah, you're really stressed right now and you're feeling X, Y, and Z." And I'm like, "That makes sense." It's just like
From
add
your
more.
lips? She did that from your lips?
She did. So, I mean, if you're interested, you can always send me the photo and I can send it to her. So she thread my palm before, she does tarot cards. So yeah, she like put it out there because she put it on her social media, like send me like do your lipstick, kiss a piece of paper and send it to me. So she's practicing now and like how to read.
Wow, that's
Yeah.
so interesting.
Yeah. So she's like, you need a break. I was like, I am fully aware I need a vacation. I need to find a job first. So what it with Mary Jane, is there anything that you hope that the audience takes away? I mean, we have discussed it a little mostly, but for you, I mean, I don't even know because you're a mom as well. Is there anything you want the audience to take away from this show?
What I want for them
Mhm.
I would say I want this for them, is to recognize their own goodness, their own kindness, their own compassion, their own empathy, and share it.
I feel like, great, thanks for coming on. That would be such a great way to end it, but we're not done.
I can see it in your lips.
Yeah. Oh, can you? Let me come closer to the camera. So, I mentioned before we started, I do have other questions that I always ask, but do you have any top going theater experiences that you've had throughout your life seeing shows? I mean, yeah, like I added one to my list recently, having seen the NTC, is it? No, what is it? National Theater Live's Vanya of Andrew Scott.
Oh, I haven't seen it.
Oh, it's yeah,
Yeah.
it was incredible. I tried to see it again, but it was sold out. But aside from that, do you have any top going theater experiences?
I have a lot, a
Please,
lot going.
I'm
And
such a theater nerd. I love hearing all of this stuff.
when you're in a repertory company, and sadly they don't exist the same way anymore, but again, this Garland Wright genius had one. I was given roles. I remember, I played Sonia and Vanya. I played, you can find this all out in some other way, but it's for an actor. It was just delicious and exciting all the time. We did classics, we did contemporary, we did British plays, we did German plays, Dutch plays. So for me, I there are episodes that I wouldn't say anything I've ever done would I wished I hadn't done that. I can say that honestly. So to categorize them, they're just a big lump of wonder to me, all of them. But they had different challenges, and sometimes the director was a little difficult, but you learned how to deal. And sometimes you just the best of besties while you're doing it. You may never see them again.
Yeah.
But you get very close.
Yeah.
Doing the work of it. I think that right now, Mary Jane is it.
Yeah.
It really is. All of the others seem to fit in there somehow. All of the things that I have learned doing it or hoped would happen are there.
Yeah.
So, but if there was any particular play, I liked it. I put in my bio. I put, because I've had so many wonderful roles. I put that I think I put it. I can't remember exactly, but I said that I played Medea, which I did at the Guthrie, and I played a woman of no importance, which I did. For me, that was the arc of the arc. I've also played some men, which is always fun. I love to do that. Mm-hmm. Here's a funny story. Dan Sullivan, who is directing it, I did a play with Dan in the Old Globe in San Diego, California. And it was, what's the name? She's Imogen, and it's the Shakespeare, Imogen, and it just escaped me. I've done a lot, but not all of it. But anyway, so I played in the first act a wicked queen, and in the second act I played the father of these two boys. And my husband's father came to see the show, and at curtain call, he turned to my husband and said, "Well, where was Brenda?" And he said, "She was out there, Dad. She was him. She was him." He had no idea. And the fun we had doing that play, trying to get it, and Dan is brilliant. Yeah. And he worked so hard to get a distinctive sound, a distinctive this and that and the other, that it actually worked.
Yeah. I think he directed my favorite production I've seen at Shakespeare in the Park. It was a production of Cymbeline. Ironically, it was also like the best seats I ever had at Shakespeare in the Park. And I just remember Raul Esparza had like a jazzy, like Las Vegas-y number. And you had Hamish Linklater, Patrick Page, I said Lily Rabe. No, Lily Rabe was in it.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, Kate Burton was in it. Like
Right.
an incredible cat. And it was like and I've seen a lot of productions there, the best thing I've ever seen at the park.
That was Cymbeline
Yeah.
this was the first Cymbeline that he
Oh,
did.
interesting.
Yeah. Well, this was a long time ago, but yeah. And I did Kate's parts.
Oh, okay.
She played the queen and she played the Cymbeline. Yeah. Anyway, we when he gave me a note at one point, he said, you're sounding the same. What can we do? What can we do? And I said, well, I'm going to try something. And so what I tried was I put something I'd learned at the Guthrie, put something in your mouth, or
Mhm.
to change how your tongue has to work and so I put a milk dud on the top of my mouth, and I spoke with the milk dud, and it dropped the register and everything else. So Dan called me when he was doing that production, and he said, remember when we had this problem, blah, blah, blah. And he said, what did we do? What was it we did? So
Okay.
that's the milk dud. You got to put the milk dud in. So I guess Kate did too. And Kate and she hadn't done that then. We did the Grand Manor at Gurney Play at Lincoln Center. And that was fun. It reminded me of that. But when you meet people or you work with people, then it's years later.
Yeah.
Oh,
Well, speaking of working with people, do you have any other like dream projects or people or roles that you would want to do or work with? Because you were mentioning Tony Kushner. So I have decided for you that you need to be in a Steven Spielberg directed movie that Tony Kushner has written because they like working together. So I think we need to make that happen for you.
well, from your to
Yeah.
that's why not? Why not?
I manifest so many things for people on here. I only have like one claim to fame with that, which was I had somebody on and they're like, well, my dream is to do Shakespeare in the Park. And I was like, well, you never know. It's like, I think it's cast. I was like, you could do it next year. Cut to a year later, like a few days after, like to the mark of when I interviewed him, they announced the cast of Hamlet and he was in it. So
Oh
yeah,
wow. Oh wow, look at you.
yeah.
Well, I mean, I hope all theater, bona fide theater enthusiasts do check in on you, because it's a really great way to give positive, positive sense of,
Yeah, I like people. I want good things to happen for
yeah,
them. Like,
yeah, yeah,
manifest
that's
and
evident.
live your life.
But to answer your question now, and I'm at liberty to do this, so I am doing it. I don't have anything. I don't want to do anything after this. I want to spend time with my grandchildren, and they're in California.
Mhm.
I don't get to when I do theater. When you do theater, you know this. It's a full on months, and every day except one a week. So there are other things in my life that I have thought I have always had a little, I think I want to do that. I want to do that, and never really had the time. So there are this and that is that I want to experiment with doing. I have told people this is my swan song, my theatrical swan song.
Mm.
And bless their hearts or not, they always say, no, it can't be your swan song. But it might be. It just might be. Something I know, if it's really something I have to do, I will do it. But as far as me planning it at this stage, no, I'm not planning it. I've had such a wonderful, wonderful go at all of it.
You've had a pretty wonderful career. Well, I just want to say quickly, thank you for coming on with your theatrical swan song.
You don't want to hear it. You don't want to hear me try to sing it. That's okay. So I'll spare you that.
I
But
I I'm so like allergy sinusy right now that I don't
oh,
even
everyone is, isn't it?
Yeah,
Sarah,
it's so crazy. Someone's like, "Oh, I think this." I'm like, "It's everybody," because people have said that to me, and I was like, "Oh, it is everybody having like."
oh, my dresser is just, she lost a voice. She's, no, my husband, everybody is. But here's something, it has nothing to do with the theater, but I found this astonishing. Somebody told me that all the trees were planted in Manhattan are male. So there would be no fruit to clean up.
Hmm.
Now, what does that tell you about the pollen
Well, whose idea do you think that was to plant male tree?
now?
That's so interesting. I kind of
Yeah,
love it. I'd rather clean up fruit than pollen.
I know. Who wouldn't? People could eat it, for God's sake. I don't, it's funny. Yeah, I know. I thought, is that true? Is that, yeah, I read it. It's
That's
true. They
so
told me.
interesting. Well, if you take anything away from this podcast, anybody listening, it's that the trees in New York are all male, and that explains so much about the pollen. Uh, so let's do the Inside the Actors Studio questions. Are you up for it?
Sure,
Okay.
sure. I've forgotten what they are, so I
It's
look forward
okay. That's why we're going to do them.
to
What is your favorite word?
my favorite word. I mean, I should have had these before so I could think about it.
Oh, it's
Uh,
okay.
I have a lot of fun words. Funicular,
That is a fun word. What is your least favorite word?
dump,
What turns you on?
beauty,
What turns you off?
meanness.
What is your favorite curse word?
Really, what's my favorite curse word? I don't know. I don't know what my favorite. We're not allowed to say them on here.
No, I
Anyway.
told you before we can start. Well, I told you before we started, you can curse.
Oh, all right. I thought you said you can't. That was
Oh,
what
no,
you
you
did.
can. I already
Oh,
said fucking at some point.
oh, did you? Well, now you did.
I did
Now
again.
I did hear you say shit. Yes. Um, I don't do that a lot, so I wouldn't.
Okay.
I,
If you're anti-cursing, we can move
it's
on.
not. It's just not something I.
Okay. Next, what sound or noise do you love?
Music,
What sound or noise do you hate?
repetitive pickleball.
That's incredible. What profession other than yours would you like to attempt?
Writing.
What would you not like to do? What profession would you not like to do?
Hmm. Hmm. Um, hospital cleaning up.
It's a good thing you don't play that in a Mary Jane, so there you go. Okay, and as Mr. Lipton would say, and finally, if heaven exists, what would you like to hear God say when you arrive at the pearly gates?
That's if God exists, right?
Well,
That
you know
could be.
what's interesting is that he's had some people on who aren't religious, so I can't remember how he phrased it for people who didn't have a belief in that.
Oh, I think it's, that's perfectly fine. What would I say? Welcome.
And as he would say, you're
Welcome.
welcome. So, Brenda, before we end, is there anything you'd like to add? Anything you'd like? Well, let me ask this. I always ask this to people if I remember. Why do you think theater is important?
Oh, Lord, you just heard me go on and on about it. It's
Oh, you
not,
can keep going. It's fine. That's what we're here
uh,
for.
I do feel, that's exactly the word.
Mhm.
Why do you feel theater is important? Because it stimulates feeling, it stimulates thought, it stimulates creativity, it stimulates, it is live. It's alive. And that's become super, super important in my world, or in living in the world as it progresses. the fact that it's a party. It's a party. And we need everybody at that party. It's an opportunity to live in other people's lives and to understand them better. And it's a powerful thing. We can't do it alone. No one does it alone. We have to all be together. And that's the nicest thing for me, is we're all together.
Hopefully without cell phones going off.
Yes, we don't need those. We don't need those. You create your own little bags and start selling them, and then you can do it online, and then people will buy them, and you can have quotes and plays on them, and then you can or get people to allow you to put things they've said on them, and then people will want them, and then they will buy them, and they will put them in their person and use them.
Interesting. I feel like they should start doing that, like make it show specific. But the thing is with yonder bags that you have to have somebody unlock the bag for you. So that would definitely have to be a thing. But thank you for that, because normally I'm the one giving people ideas during the podcast. So thank you for giving me one.
Good luck with that.
Thank you.
Thank you, Elle.
Of course. So before we end, is there anything you want to add? Problems, questions, concerns, life advice, anything?
No, I think people are better off not hearing any of that. It's a joke. But no, I would like to wish you the very best. I love your enthusiasm, and I love your pursuit of it. And I think for you, it's going to ultimately be a big payoff, because you're lovely to talk to, and you stimulate wonderful ideas and memories.
Oh, thank you. Oh my gosh, thank you so much. I'm so red. Thank you. That means so much. Well, thank you so much again for coming on. You can stay on once we're done recording, but Mary Jane had its final extension, so it's now until June 30th. Please get your tickets. Also, if you are worried about ticket pricing, like we talked about, I was able to rush the show through Today Tech, so they do have rush seats available, and I actually got a pretty good seat. And I know that theater very well, the Friedman Theater. So even if you end up in the very rear of the mezzanine, it's still an excellent, excellent, excellent seat. Do yourself a favor, please go see the show. It is a wonderful piece of theater. Brenda says it's the best thing she's ever done, and it's her theater swan song, you guys. So let's give her a good farewell. Thank you, Brenda, so much for coming on.
Thank you.
Of course.